like I said earlier, med school it's a lot different than anything I'd ever done. In high school, I went to a small high school, so I consider myself semi-intelligent, so high school was a breeze. You know, I hardly ever studied, that sort of thing. And in college, I was smart enough that I could wait until a night or two before the test, because you only had, 3 or 4 classes at a time, and you only went to class like 3 times a week, maybe 2 times a week, depending on the class. And so there wasn't a whole lot of material, and so in a day or two, you could pretty much touch up on everything and do well enough to get by. Well, in med school, the first 2 years are classwork, and you go to class starting at 8 or 9 o'clock, and then you have a lecture every hour, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, an hour for lunch, and then another set of lectures from starting at 1 o'clock until 3 or 4 o'clock every day. So you're getting 6 to 8 hours of lecture every day, Monday through Friday, and that was just too much volume for me. Like, I never learned how to study in high school or college. And so that was the rude awakening for me in the first year, was just the sheer volume of material. Like, you start out, when I did it, you had 2, and it was only 2 classes at a time. Like, I started out, the first 2 classes were biochem and cell biology. And you get 4 biochem lectures a day and 3 cell biology lectures a day. And the class was only 8 weeks long, and there were only 3 tests. And so you'd have a test that had 30 lectures in it. And so, and they're assuming that we're all in med school, so we're intelligent, and so it's just a ton of information. And that really threw me off the first year, was just the sheer volume of information that we were required to learn. And so that made the first year really hard. The second year was hard because I was used to the volume, but the material was much more difficult. Like, you've had the first year, if you took biochemistry in college, you took cell biology in college, you've taken a lot of classes already. But the second year of med school is a lot of the actual medical parts, like physiology and pathology. And so you're learning a lot about how the body works and that sort of stuff. And so the second year was difficult, not because of the volume, but because of the actual content. And so once you get through those 2 years, you have to take the step 1. There's always another test to take. The ACT, the Stanford 9, whatever it is, and then the MCAT to get into school. And then after the first 2 years, you have to take the step 1, and that's a 8-hour test, multiple choice on a computer. And if you don't pass that test, you can't go on to the 3rd year. And so it's kind of not a way to weed people out, but it kind of separates people. And the thing is, it's a good thing, because that's the hardest test to pass, the step 1. And if you can't pass the step 1, there's no need in you going further and getting another $60,000 in debt when you may not be able to finish medical school. And so after that, you start your 3rd year, and the 3rd year is all your clinical rotations, and the 3rd and 4th year are all clinical rotations. And so you do surgery and pediatrics and internal medicine, orthopedics, psychiatry, OB, geriatrics, which is the elderly population, and then you do a lot of subspecialty rotations like neurosurgery and that sort of stuff. And so your 3rd year, you kind of get a wide picture of your 3rd year, and then around the end of your 3rd year, your 4th year is when you kind of have to decide, what kind of doctor do I want to be, and depending on what you choose, then your 4th year, you have the freedom to pick different rotations. Like, if I want to be an orthopedist, then I'm going to do 3 or 4 orthopedic rotations my 4th year. Well, I wanted to do family medicine, so I did an extra pediatric rotation and stuff that would prepare me for family medicine. There wasn't any need in me doing 3 orthopedic rotations if I was never going to be an orthopedist. And then your 4th year is when you apply to residencies. And so once you decide what you want to be, you kind of start the whole process over. You fill out another long application, and you go and you interview. You apply for interviews at several different programs, and then after everybody's interviewed at all the programs, you turn in your list. I would like to go to this program first, this program second, and if I don't get into that one, this one, and you number your priority 1 through 10.